We finally have a new development in the Brandon Aiyuk 49ers feud, and unfortunately, it's not good. Who blinks first? We'll break it all down next. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Levin Black. Before we get into John Lynch's comments and Kyle Shanahan's comments, Levin, and Brandon Aiyuk skipping practice, first and foremost, happy belated birthday, my friend.
Woo! Was that lots of excitement and celebration for you? There you go.
Thought you'd like that. Levin is 39 going on 79, I think.
Well, you're older than me, so you tell me.
Well, then you got to be 38. How old are you?
I just turned 39. I thought you were like 6 months older.
Yeah, I'm 39. I'm going to be 40 in January. So
yeah, you're 7 months older, you old man.
Yeah, I know. All right. We got a lot to react to. Kyle Shanahan spoke. John Lynch spoke. There was practice. You know, we began the day with a report from Mike Garafolo that there was, quote, an understanding that Brandon Aiyuk was going to practice today, which to me, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Understanding from who? Did the two sides talk? Why would he suddenly practice? That seemed really weird to me. And instead, what we got, essentially in a nutshell, if I could summarize, it can be summarized nicely by the show Seinfeld.
All right, want to get nuts? Let's get nuts!
Kyle and Lynch were asked before practice, what if Brandon Lynch doesn't show up today? And they said, well, we'll deal with it when it happened. And guess what, Levin? It happened. Brandon Aiyuk did not show up for practice, and now this thing is ratcheting up. It is ratcheting it up to a level where there are actual consequences now. Because what the 49ers told you is, we cleared him. We're not listening to his BS back injury anymore. If you don't practice, we're fining you.
Yeah, first off, you should have had a Frazier quote, not a Seinfeld one, because Frazier's better.
No.
Yeah. Two, I feel like this is the end. That's my take on it. Look, there were strong, credible reports. There wasn't just the dog on Twitter saying that the Niners and the Steelers had agreed to a trade. We know that the Browns and Niners agreed to a trade, but Aiyuk would not go there. Same with the Patriots. I feel like that the 49ers front office found a trade with the Steelers, came to Kyle and said, all right, we found a team that's willing to meet what we wanted. We're going to trade Brandon. And Kyle said, hold on. That hurts our Super Bowl chances. Before I'm willing to let you take that move, up the offer to Aiyuk by $1 million, get closer to what he wants, and see if he takes it. And I feel like today him skipping practice is when Kyle changes the tune and says, enough is enough. We're too close to the season. He hasn't taken the contract. We're not upping it. We already did it once. We're done.
Yeah, I think that the Niners were trying to make a last-ditch effort here. You know, I talked to Grant earlier today, and he said what he thinks is the Niners basically had the deal all set with the Steelers. They really want Aiyuk back. They're trying to re-sign him, and then they're going to trade him right before the season starts, and they're going to say, look, we did everything we could. We upped our offer. He just wouldn't accept it. We had to trade him. We had to move on. He's the one that's being unreasonable, right? They can really paint him in a bad light. They could say, we had multiple deals worked out. He didn't want to do it. They can really spin it that way. And it does now feel like we have reached a point of no return, because if he was going to sign the contract, they could just say, well, no, what hold in? He was hurt. There's no fines. It's no problem. Now they're not even pretending anymore. It's just, we know his back is fine. And you can tell from John Lynch's press conference. Listen to this clip of John Lynch talking about the situation.
It doesn't sound great. Are you disappointed it's kind of got to this level?
Yeah, sure. But, you know, I've seen these things look dire before, and they can quickly turn. So that gives you hope, you know, that we've been in these situations before, and those things can quickly be forgotten. So, you know, we'll remain hopeful.
With the
communicated to Brandon's camp at any point, say in the last few weeks, that he would be expected to practice starting?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into our communication again, but there's, at some point you got to play.
What do you think Brandon Aiyuk's agent's going to say to that?
At some point, you have to pay, or you can go with the if you don't pay, you won't get no play.
If you don't pay, you don't get no play. I mean, this is where they are now. So now, maybe this is the 49ers sort of last test for Brandon Aiyuk. Okay, you didn't show up to practice one day. All right, you might be willing to accept 1 day's worth of fines. Are you willing to accept 2 or 3 or 4? Because even if they trade him, he still has to pay the fines, right? So like he doesn't even now look, maybe the Steelers will figure out something in the new contract. I don't know. But it just feels like the Niners are fed up now. And this was the sign. And if Brandon Aiyuk's really going to do it, then he's going to do it. But we're getting to the end of this charade very, very quickly.
You remember last week when there were reports that they finally made a offer that was around 30 million average annual value, and then other reports that said that came with like a inflated 4th year that wasn't guaranteed to get it there. I feel like that was the offer the Niners made, so that if a trade does happen, they go, "Hey, we offered him his 30 million." Ignoring the fact that it was really like 26.5 million with an inflated like $40 million salary in year 4 to get it up there. I feel like that's what they did. That was a shenanigans offer just so that they can then claim that.
Then there are a lot of inflated parts. Like Amon-Ra's deal is a little bit inflated too. Like that's not an totally uncommon thing. It just depends on when you get past the inflation, what is the actual numbers and are those numbers good enough? But yeah, I think the 49ers have positioned themselves to be able to say with a lot of plausible deniability, we offered him multiple contracts. We upped the contract recently. We got it up to 30 million. He didn't want that. We found a trade to the Browns. He didn't want that. We found a trade to the Patriots that would have made him, $32 million, whatever it was. He didn't want that. We bent over backwards for Brandon Aiyuk. It's not our fault. It's what they're going to tell you. And I'm sorry, like, it's everybody's fault. When you are going for a Super Bowl like the 49ers are this year, the win is getting him signed. It doesn't matter if you overpay by $3 or $4 or $5 million. It doesn't matter, because if you win the Super Bowl, nobody's going to say, yeah, but it costs them too much.
It's just hilarious to me. If you want to point fingers, John Lynch said it himself in the clip you already played. We've been in this situation before. Yes, they have. Nick Bosa literally won a defensive player MVP and then didn't get his contract until 4 days before week 1 game. This is the MO of the team. So when they're doing it with Nick Bosa and they're doing it with Trent Williams, you're not going to suddenly point the finger at Brandon Aiyuk because they're doing it with him too. It is the team. The team is the problem. And if you want to put on tinfoil hat, I have a conspiracy theory.
Ooh, okay.
For why Brandon Aiyuk has not been traded yet. It is because they want to get Trent Williams signed first and then trade him, because they're scared if they trade BA first, Trent says, screw it, I'm retiring.
Yeah, but Trent could retire after they sign the contract.
He could, but if you just got given, say, a $30 million signing bonus, are you going to turn around a week later and say, here, never mind, I'm not cashing it?
True. That's fair. I saw this tweet from Peter Bukowski, who covers the Packers for Locked On Packers. He and I agree a lot on Twitter, but also disagree a lot. But I thought he nailed it with this tweet. He said, this front office just can't stop stepping on rakes with their star players' contract situations. That's exactly what it is. Look out. There's a rake. And bam, they step on it. Every time. They did it with Debo. They did it with Bosa. They're doing it with Brandon Aiyuk. They're doing it with Trent Williams. It's just constant. It's one after another after another. And I saw the article from The Athletic that said, hey, the 49ers are going to invest $200 million in Levi Stadium. And I was like, okay, like maybe that's factoring in, right? Maybe Jed doesn't want to pay out a lot of guaranteed money because he's paying all this money to renovate Levi Stadium. Well, first of all, the NFL has like a fund that you can dip into to pay for stadium renovations. Also, I texted a couple people that I know to see, like, are these related? And a couple people texted back and said, no, they're not related. The 49ers have the money to pay players. Jet is just a turd, basically.
Well, let's tie in another all-time great sitcom. The 49ers are Sideshow Bob in the episode where he keeps stepping on the rake and then going, oh. And who was Sideshow Bob voiced by?
Yes, Kelsey Grammer. Brian says, ban Levin immediately. Frazier is not on Seinfeld's level. How do I ever take you serious again? Shaking my hand. Okay, fine. I'll ban Levin. He's banned from the show. That's it. I'm taking over. No, just kidding. He's back.
Did you see how the live viewers dipped there?
No, so the Brandon Aiyuk situation does not sound good. The Trent Williams situation sounds slightly better. And for an example of that, listen to John Lynch compare the two when asked about him.
The Trent situation.
No, there's no updates there. I mean, there's good communication. We're constantly working, throwing out ideas to try to have a breakthrough, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Is there good communication between you and Brandon?
Yeah, there's communication, and it's been ongoing. You know, with Brandon, with his representative, and you know, on that one as well. We just haven't been able to break through.
So, is there been good communication? He says, well, there's been communication, and he even smiled because he knew what he was saying as he said it. So clearly, the Trent situation is in a better spot than the Aiyuk situation. Kyle even said, talking about Trent, he said, when both sides want to get a deal done, it usually gets done. I thought that was a little telling too. That, to me, he was talking to Aiyuk just as much as he was answering the question with that response.
Yeah, I wish we could just get some real concrete info. What have the Niners offered? Because is there a possibility that Aiyuk's just being unrealistic and saying, I want CeeDee Lamb contract? There's a small possibility there, but I seriously doubt it. It's just so annoying because all we're going off of is speculation. There is no like, oh yeah, this is definitely true. It's all been speculation. We have no idea the actual truth. What have the 49ers offered? Maybe they offered him a 3-year contract that, yeah, it's only $28 million a year, but all 3 years are fully guaranteed.
Maybe.
I mean, that's kind of fair. You know what I mean? At that point, Aiyuk, you kind of go, well, hold on there. That's something he should probably accept if it's at the point where they just won't give a good 4th year.
We will find out exactly what was offered as soon as the situation is over, especially if he's traded. The Niners offer will get leaked in the most favorable light for the team immediately after. It'll be, hey, Niners offer Brandon Aiyuk $38 million a year, and you come to find out that like $12 million was guaranteed or something like that. But that's when we'll find out.
And then like 3 months later, then some national media person will go, oh, well, actually, you know, the Steelers ended up giving him a much better contract and gives us the actual details.
Modelo Time 1999 on Twitch. Shout out to the Twitch fam. Love you. Says players trying to get their bag confirmed. No Super Bowl this year. This is something that I talked about with Grant, and I think it's really true. I think last year was the year when the players said, forget my personal stuff. I'm putting that on hold. We're going for a Super Bowl. We got screwed in the NFC Championship game last year. So you know what? I'm putting my stuff aside, and we're all in for a Super Bowl this year. And they got to the game, and they didn't win it. And now I think the attitude is, hey, I still want to win a Super Bowl, but I took care of the team last year. I put my stuff aside last year. Now I want what's best for me first. I already did that. Now it's my time. And it just feels like that with BA and Trent and Christian McCaffrey, who is the ultimate team first guy. I just feel like this year's vibe is not all in for the Super Bowl. It's take care of me, and then we'll worry about the Super Bowl after that.
I mean, I don't think Nick Bosa was making that sacrifice last year when he didn't show up until 4 days before the season and admitted it affected him. I don't blame him for doing what he did because the Niners were lowballing him. But I think putting it a different way, but yes, I agree. I just think maybe that's a little too strong of a way to phrase it. I think this is the year where there's a lot of the key veterans that are looking and going, I see what's on the horizon. And so I need to have a big year myself because next year I'm probably looking at trying to get a new contract with a different team. People like Kittle, people like Debo, you know, obviously Aiyuk and Trent. they are all looking and saying, I need a big year this year because I don't know if I'll be here next year.
It's not unrealistic and unreasonable by anybody. Sean Turner says, I don't get the we're doomed talk if we don't get BA and Trent. Don't we still have a bunch of Avengers? People change their friggin' stripes daily. Yes, they still have a bunch of Avengers. And I think they could make it work without BA, especially if Jacob Cowing is something. But without Trent, that has a negative effect on everything because their pass protection is not as good. Their run blocking is not as good. Now you're in a situation where Brock's going to be under pressure more. We have seen him put the ball in some risky situations when he's under pressure. It has a domino effect. And so to me, if I got to choose one, I'm choosing Trent. He's the much more impactful player, I think.
I mean, are the Avengers without Captain America?
Very nice.
You can call him Iron Man too. Are they really the Avengers without Iron Man? Whichever one you want, Trent is at that level. I would say it's him and Purdy. They are the two that are at that level. I think just about anybody else, they can make do without. Not that they would be better or that they would be the same, but it wouldn't be as big. Trent not being here, the offense tanks. Purdy not being the quarterback, the offense tanks. Everybody else, it doesn't tank. It's just worse.
I cannot believe. Like, what is the holdup with Trent Williams? What is the 49ers argument for not paying him? Like, Brandon Aiyuk, they could say, look, we offered you a $30 million a year contract, whatever it was, right? We've upped our offer. What's your argument against paying Trent Williams? Does he deserve it? Yes. Is he underpaid? Yes. Did he have any guaranteed money left in his deal? No. So, like, when he says pay me more money, like, I don't understand what the 49ers response is.
I don't either. I think Trent holdup is Jet. Because what is Trent going to want in his deal? His deal is going to be almost all guaranteed. Now, that would seem very logical for the 49ers to go, well, yeah, as long as you're wanting to play, we're keeping you. So right. Guaranteeing it doesn't matter to us.
Right. We're not cutting you if you're here. So what difference does it make?
Oh, you want to play for another team? Okay, well, your choice is Robbie Gould's choice. Retire or play for us. We are not cutting you. We are not trading you. You will honor your contract or you don't play in the NFL. So what's the point of not guaranteeing his contract?
The thing is with Trent, he could be like, fine, I'll just retire. Like Brandon Aiyuk's not going to retire. Trent Williams very well could. John Hines on X says, do you feel if Aiyuk's traded, the Trent restructure will happen quickly? I don't know that one necessarily affects the other. They have the money to get both under the cap. They can make it work financially. So I don't think it's like, well, we got to do these one at a time or we got to do one first. I don't think that's it. I think the holdup is Jed York not wanting to put up more guaranteed money. I think that's really what it is. Tim Kawakami talked about it. He tweeted it out. He's been mentioning it here and there that Jed put out a lot of guaranteed money for the team so far, which he has. That's literally his only job. And it's also not even really his money. It's his mommy and dad's money that he inherited. But he has put out a lot of guaranteed money. And, I have to say, Levin, I'd like to hear from the owner right now. I really would. Where is Jed in this whole situation? Where are you, Jed? How have you not gotten everybody in a room and clunked their heads together to get this deal done? Or how have you not gotten in a room and say, trade Brandon Aiyuk right now? I'm tired of hearing about this. Like, this is when an owner is supposed to step up and solve these situations because you're the one that has the most power to do so, and you've been a ghost. We can't find Jed York. You know when we find Jed York? When everything is good and the team goes to the Super Bowl. Then all
after these contracts are signed, he shows up.
Yeah, Jed's doing all his media stuff. Where are you now, Jed? You want to show everybody that you're a good owner, that you've matured, that you've grown up? Show up. Where are you now?
I got another tinfoil hat thing here going on.
All right, let me put it on.
Another idea. It's, all this is speculation. We don't know. What if the holdup is not that they are not willing to pay Trent? They've actually agreed to terms on a deal, but Trent has said, I'm not signing until you sign Aiyuk because I want a Super Bowl. And that's why the Niners are not pulling the trigger on a trade because they want to try to get Aiyuk signed so that they can get Trent Williams in the door at the same time. If I'm Trent, I'm doing that because you don't need to be there for practice. He could show up 2 days before the game and be fine, I would guess. So if I'm Trent, I want a Super Bowl. I'm at the end of my career. So I'm saying sign that guy and then I'll sign.
John Redzinski watching on YouTube says, this is simple, guys. They have X dollars. They need X next year for Purdy. They only have so much they can spend to get that done. Aiyuk under contract. Honestly, it's not because they're cheap. Let me just say, I could tell just by looking at your picture, John Redzinski, that you're a real asshole. Like, I could just tell by the way you look that you are an asshole.
Wow.
You're not a good person, and I think you're just a jerk. No, I'm kidding. I actually went to college with John. He's a really old friend of mine.
I was gonna say, dang, when did stats go over here over to the dark side?
I wanted to see your face. No, honestly, I swear, John is an old friend. He's a huge Niner fan like me, and literally we went to college together, and we commiserate about the Niners all the time. The Purdy contract is part of it for sure, but they have enough money. They have enough money for all of it.
Everybody says, ooh, they're over the cap for next year, so they're going to have to make moves anyways. Well, when you add the rollover and you add the most likely that the salary cap bumps up 15, 20 million at minimum, it's been bumping a little more than that in recent years, they will have cap room just with that. But then they can also convert Kittle's salary to a signing bonus and create close to $10 million. They can do that with Fred Warner. They can do that with Debo if they choose to keep him. And they can do a post-June release of Hargrave, which would give them 20.7 million more in cap space. Like, I have broken it down, and they can pay Aiyuk, they can keep Debo, they can keep Kittle, they can keep Fred Warner, they can re-sign Trent Williams, and they can give Purdy $16 million a year and still be fine. The only move they would have to make is restructures and doing a post-June cut of Hargrave.
There are other things they would have to do, but they're not like crippling to the team where they can do it if they want to. They really can. Don't forget the Eagles signed AJ Brown to a deal. Then they signed their quarterback to a new deal. Then they signed AJ Brown to another deal. Then they signed Devontae Smith to another deal. The Eagles have more people making over $10 million a year than the 49ers have. You can do it. I promise you. The Dolphins have Tyreek Hill. They paid him. They paid Jalen Waddle. They paid Tua. You can do it because you can structure the deals in a way where the salary cap hits don't pop up in the first 3 or 4 years. You absolutely can do it. It's not a matter of they don't have the money, in my opinion. It's a matter of how much the people are asking for and how much guaranteed money is Jed York willing to put out.
I also think that this is a regime that's obsessed with still having flexibility with the cap. They don't like to push the limit when it comes to the cap.
Mm-hmm.
And notice every year they're rolling over $20+ million worth of cap space. I think they like to have that in their back pocket, but I think this is a case where they're kind of looking at the wrong thing. It's like, yeah, that's been the concentration, but you are in a true Super Bowl window. It is time to go all in. Having $20 extra million in cap space to roll over so that every year you can sign whoever you want to sign doesn't matter at this point. It matters to stay under the cap and keep your best players.
And not for nothing, just going to share this really quick. Saw this tweet from Matt Barrows. He tweeted out practice. It's the wide receivers at practice. Juwan Jennings is not there either. So it's not just that Brandon Aiyuk isn't there. Juwan Jennings got an oblique injury. He's been banged up. So now week 1, you're looking at Debo and Jacob Cowing. And maybe Ricky Pearsall, but he's still in the blue non-contact jersey. And I don't know about you, Evan. I have zero faith that he's going to be able to keep that shoulder from dislocating if he actually plays real football in the regular season.
Well, not only that, but Pearsall and Cowing, they are rookies in perhaps the most difficult system to thrive in as a rookie because you have to be able to block. And that's not something that comes easy for rookie wide receivers. What is the last wide receiver to have 1,000 yards receiving as a rookie? I can't even think of it off the top of my head because I don't think Crabtree quite made it because he had the holdout.
Oh, for the 49ers, you mean?
Yeah.
They've never had one.
They've never had one. So are you expecting Ricky Pearsall to be able to replace Aiyuk and do something that literally no wide receiver in team history has done?
Yeah, what could go wrong with that plan?
A shoulder. That's what could go wrong.
I mean, yeah, that whole thing, the way they handled that, where Mike Silver's on the radio saying, oh yeah, they knew he had a shoulder issue. They drafted him anyway. And then that was the comment that started it all. Because I tweeted that. And then we didn't even know what the injury was. And that's why we find out that there was a shoulder subluxation, because Mike Silver, people finally asked about it. And Kyle tried to make it seem like it was no big, 50% of college players have them. And it's not, dude, give me a break with all that. Then draft one of the wide receivers that doesn't, man. Like, come on. You draft a guy with a chronic shoulder problem. Now, to be fair, he didn't miss any games in college. So, okay. But you just did this with Kinlaw. You drafted Kinlaw even though you knew his knee was messed up, and it hurt him his entire career in San Francisco. And now with your first round pick, you're going to roll the dice on that. The process with some of the thinking with the 49ers this offseason has been really, really bizarre.
It really has. Like, hey, we might have to trade our star wide receiver. Let's draft a guy that's currently injured.
Right. What could go wrong? I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm ready for an answer, though. At this point, like, I still want him to be signed, but I just want the answer. Like, if the answer is he's traded, give it to me. Like, I'm ready for an answer. I am sick of this. And I am not okay with waiting a whole nother week, because that would be the point that Nick Bosa signed last year. I don't want another week of this.
Andre says, regardless of the deal, Brandon Aiyuk will have an off year and struggle. Trent will be fine because he's super elite, but BA will look like crap after this whole offseason. Can I just say, I've heard people say what Andre just said about Trent. Wow, he'll be fine. That's exactly what we said about Nick Bosa. And Nick Bosa is in the prime of his career in his 20s. Trent Williams is 35, okay? I'm not buying that he's going to come in and just be awesome right off the bat. He doesn't need any practice time. Bull. The only way to get ready for football is to play football. And Trent Williams has not been doing that. So I don't even believe that he's going to be able to just step in and be 100% and be back to the Trent Williams that we all know and love.
Did you see I think it was Kyle that said today that, Aiyuk needs to practice because even now he's going to have a tough time being like fully ready for week 1?
I didn't see that particular comment.
He mentioned that he needs to practice because it's getting tight for him to be fully ready for week 1. My thought on that is, if Brandon Aiyuk needs all this time to be fully ready for week 1 and Pearsall is just now starting practice, how can you expect him to be ready for week 1?
I don't know. That's a fair question.
Exactly. Like,
fair question.
If BA reported today like they expected, he was saying that, I hope he's at practice because he has I don't remember the exact wording, but like a tall task to be ready for week 1, even if he goes to practice today. Okay, well, Pearsall just started practicing today. So Pearsall's not going to be ready week 1?
I don't think so. He's still got the blue jersey on, man. Like,
I think he'll play week 1, but I don't think he'll have a ton. He'll have like 15 to 20 snaps.
P.O. says, can someone explain the options for Aiyuk and those for the 49ers? Skip all the trade caca, since if they trade him, they're caving in. All right. It's pretty simple the way it breaks down. They can do nothing. If they do nothing, Brandon Aiyuk has 2 options. Play for the $14.5 million on the 5th-year option, or refuse to play. Those are his 2 options. He's totally within his rights to refuse to play. He'll get fined like crazy, but no one can make you do anything. They can't physically grab him and throw him on the field and make him run routes.
The true deadline is report for week 10. As long as he reports at week 10, the year will count for him, meaning that he becomes an unrestricted free agent next year, pending the 49ers' choice of whether or not to franchise tag him.
Right. So that if he was going to go I'm not going to play on the 14 million, he would have to play for some of the season, because if he just sits out and does nothing, he doesn't get a year closer to free agency. And so there would be no point in sitting out, frankly, if you just skip the whole year. By the way, shout out to Brian Salcido, new YouTube channel member. Appreciate you, Brian. If you want to become a new YouTube channel member, it's less than $3 a month. You get priority comment response, custom emojis, but I just updated all the custom emojis. You get membership badges, and it's a great way to support the channel. I really do appreciate it.
I just had a brilliant idea. You can update custom emojis.
Yes.
I made an emoji that I use when I text you every so often.
It's true.
I should text you that picture, and you should make that one of the emojis, because that one might be popular.
Yeah, I'll literally get right on that. That'll be like the first thing that I do, probably, would be to make.
For anybody wondering, it is Stats photoshopped into being Woody. And I literally made it an emoji to where I can react to his text messages.
Yeah, he just reacts with that. Like, I don't even know what it means, but he just keeps sending it to me. Papa J says they will force Pearsall to play to prove a point, and Pearsall will have no choice but to play because he's a rookie trying to prove a point. I mean, here's the thing, right? Let's say Aiyuk doesn't play week 1 for whatever reason. If Pearsall does play and he looks good, that makes the 49ers look awesome, right? Like, then it's like if he has a touchdown, makes like a fantastic catch in the end zone, it makes the 49ers look awesome. Now, on the flip side, if he plays and he gets hurt or he just stinks and he's confused, they look terrible. But the optics are part of this. And I don't think you can separate that when it comes to Pearsall because he was the first round pick.
I'm not sure either side would want to get to that spot because, as you just demonstrated, it's going to swing massively one way or the other. If Pearsall looks great, Aiyuk loses a ton of public support and a ton of the narrative because the narrative will be they don't need him. If Pearsall is terrible, the narrative will be, see, that's why they need to pay Aiyuk. If this team wants to win a Super Bowl, they have to pay him. And that will be like literally all of the talk nationally for the 49ers will be, that's why they need to pay Aiyuk, or that's why they can trade him.
It would be a big swing, especially against the Jets, but a very good defense, right? That even magnifies things a little bit more. So Sean Turner says Rodgers won't last a quarter. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I'll say that for the record. I would rather Rodgers play the whole game and just be awful, just get intercepted and sacked and all that stuff. That's fine. Andre says stats took the Jets and the points for a reason. That's true. I did take the Jets and the points today, 11. I was so just bummed out by all the vibes. I was like, I'm getting 4 points. I took the Jets. Andre says the Jets will have a top 3 defense without Trent and BA to get open downfield. This team will get smoked against Aaron Rodgers in prime time. In the regular season, Aaron Rodgers has a winning record against the 49ers. In fact, he kind of kicks their ass in the regular season. He doesn't in the playoffs, but in the regular season, he beats them. And I think he's going to want to come back. He's going to want to put on a show in prime time because of everything that happened last year and all the crap that has been swirling around him. How good does he look if he comes out on Monday Night Football and sticks it to the defending NFC champions?
You're not wrong. Good luck with Aaron Rodgers coming off the injury he's coming off of and at his age. Now, granted, I probably said similar things about Tom Brady for like 4 straight years. Good luck at that age. It didn't work out for me. So, but like, yes, quarterbacks can play at 40, but they are diminished. And unlike these other ones, like Breeze that played into his 40s and Brady who played into his 40s, Rodgers is coming off a very serious injury. So that amount he's diminished will probably be greater. I wouldn't be absolutely shocked to see Rodgers back to his old stuff because he is quite possibly the most talented quarterback ever. I wouldn't call him the best.
That's Sam Darnold.
Yeah. But Aaron Rodgers might be the most talented quarterback ever. So it wouldn't be crazy, but I would not be anywhere close to wanting to bet on Aaron Rodgers.
Bay Area Sports 83 says Stats is a fake 49er fan, and his avatar is the logos of the 4 Bay Area teams. No, Bay Area, I would say you're a bootlicker. Like, I'm not going to pick the 49ers to win every game. Breaking news here. The 49ers are not going undefeated in 2024. So,
according to Michelle, they are.
Yeah, I know. That was the craziest bold prediction of all time. But, no, they're not going to go undefeated this year. Some of the games they're going to lose. So, yes, I'm picking one of the games I think the 49ers might lose, particularly if they don't have Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk. It doesn't make me a fake fan. It makes me a smart fan, quite frankly. Sean says, Rob's hedging his feelings. Niners win is good. Niners loss is good for his wallet. That's true. I did do the emotional hedge, not going to lie. But to be honest with you, I would happily lose the $15 bet that I made. First of all, it's not, it's not changing my life one way or the other.
Yeah, you don't need it. You just got a new channel member.
That's right. 3 months, that'll be all paid off if he sticks around, which hopefully he does. Giannis says, I see Levin drop the pay BA banner. Is that intentional, Levin? Are you fed up and you just took it down because you were disgusted with today's shenanigans?
No, it actually, I took it down when we did the Vernon Davis interview because I didn't think it would be right to have him with an image of that. I don't want to put that on him.
You should have. You should have kept it up. He might have commented on it. It would have been good.
He might have, but I don't want to, I don't want to put that on him. But it actually fell down. and I did not notice until right at showtime. I was actually going to make a new one, but I didn't have time today. I was going to say Aiyuk or bust, because I don't think they win the Super Bowl if they trade him.
I mean, well, we don't know. Like, it depends what they get back. What if they traded him to the Raiders and they got Devontae Adams back?
Yeah. And what if Steve Young got 30 years younger and was suddenly the MVP again? That's not happening.
Speaking of Steve Young, Levin, did you hear your boy on KMBR this week?
Yeah. You like that transition?
Yeah, see, there's that
Threw
intention.
you a bone there.
Did you hear, Steve, what he said?
I sure did hear him be heavily hypocritical.
Let's play a little of that, because for people that don't know, Steve Young is Levin's guy. Like, he told me, if you ever get the chance to have Steve Young on the channel, I have to be a part of the interview, because that is my guy. There's literally a Steve Young jersey hanging up behind him. Like, Steve Young is Levin's. He's the one, right? And so when Steve Young went on the radio and said some things, I was wondering what Levin's reaction is going to be. Here's a clip of it. I won't play the whole thing because it's really long, but here's the general gist.
Owners and general managers should not weaponize the fact that playing for the 49ers is super cool and that we're the best in the league and we're going to go for the Super Bowl and you're lucky to be here and, all the things that this is a great offense. You'll never be better. So you got to be careful. If the older guys like the owner and the general manager weaponize it, then that's not cool. But they haven't, and I don't think they do that. I watch closely for that and listen closely, and they could weaponize it. They don't, and I appreciate that in them. As a young player, because you're young and you don't know as much, when you're looking for the very last dollar to prove that you are the best, like I'm the best in the league and I'm going to prove it with this contract. Okay, but how far am I willing to go to try to prove it? It's pretty clear that he's voted with his feet now that I don't want to be traded. So it's okay. Well, then what do you want? Well, I want the most money for any receiver, and I want to set the market, but I want to stay here. And that's where the agents got to be able to figure out a way to bring that player to see the values other than the dollars.
Your thoughts?
It's a pretty bold take for somebody that reset the NFL market twice in his career. And he literally went to the USFL because he was offered a contract. I think it was 7 years, $75 million, where if he went to the NFL, he would have been getting $4 million in total. I went and researched that after these comments just to double check. I knew he went to the USFL over money. He didn't get anywhere near that amount of money because the team obviously filed bankruptcy after only 2 years. But he literally went to the USFL over money out of college. And then he reset the market twice as a player in the NFL. And, oh, by the way, the year he retired, did you know he actually got a new contract that offseason? I had completely forgotten about it. He got a new contract, and his agent afterwards said that Steve is still deciding whether or not he wants to continue playing. And even if he decides to continue playing, he might choose to play for a different team. He had just signed an extension. That was the comments his agent made after signing that extension.
Lee Steinberg was his agent. I've interviewed Lee Steinberg before. Maybe I should, you know what? I should hit up Lee again and see if he can maybe resolve this this contract dispute. Steve Young, he wants the 49ers to win badly. Like, that's what I love. And you can tell when you listen to him, he really does. He said we a bunch of times, but he did the thing that we all do, right? It's easy for us to tell guys to take less money because we get all the benefit of then coming back to play for the team, and it costs us nothing because it ain't our money that we're taking away. So I think that, I kind of get what Steve was saying. You'd like to think there's a compromise there. But again, I refuse to blame the players for wanting to get all that they can because that's just the nature of the business that they're in. Their careers could end at any second. Their lives could end at any second. We saw a player die and then have to get revived with Damar Hamlin. Like, we saw that. So I can't blame the players. And I think that Steve, he's really removed from his playing days. It's been a long time since Steve Young was on the field. It's been almost a quarter century. So I think that he is, I know, he's wandered into, he's closer to us now than he's ever been.
it's his homerism coming out. He just wants Aiyuk to stay on the team because he knows that if he's traded, the team can't really replace him this year, and so that severely hurts their Super Bowl chances. But Steve Young literally started by saying the team shouldn't try to use its history and say, look how great of a franchise we are and we're winning a bunch of games, you should take less. But then ended it by saying Aiyuk should look past the dollar and take less because of what this team is.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, doesn't really mesh, does it? The team shouldn't use this, but Aiyuk should see it. Or his agent should tell him, I guess is how he said it.
And I get the point. Like, I do think there is something to say for the fact that, like, Brandon Aiyuk has never played anywhere else, and I don't think he quite realizes how good the situation he is in is because he's never been anywhere else. Like you take it for granted, right? Like, that's just natural. And the agent can tell that to him and stuff. But honestly, like, I don't know if he'll really believe it because I don't know if it's something you can fully grasp until you're in another situation.
I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Aiyuk could be in a better situation on a different team where he gets 140 targets a season. You know
But
what I
are
mean?
they competing for a championship? Like, you can have
Well,
140
amongst
targets.
the teams that are willing to trade for him, no, probably not. But like, he has to be sitting there saying, I know I'm really good. I could put up CeeDee Lamb numbers.
Mhm.
So yes, I would prefer to stay here, and I'm willing to have my career not be as big individually by staying here because we can win. But I'll be danged if I'm going to take that big of a team discount to do it when I could go over there and potentially try to chase a Hall of Fame career. Because if he stays with the Niners, his chances of the Hall of Fame are virtually zero.
He'll
So he
never
will
make
not get the targets.
No.
If he goes somewhere else and he truly is this great route runner that everybody believes him to be, and he gets 140 targets, he could be in 5 years having, 5 straight years of 1,300 plus yards and be on a Hall of Fame trajectory. That is within the realm of possibility. And if you're Brandon Aiyuk, you have to be confident in yourself and saying, I want to stay here and win, but that's what's on the other side.
Luke the Don, says Steve Young called back the next day and changed his mind. He called Papa on the air. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. And obviously, I haven't heard it. If it is true, I would be very interested to hear those comments because that's interesting because that means Steve heard the reaction to those comments and he felt he did not get his opinion across or didn't like the reaction or whatever. So I'm going to have to go and check those out and listen to those because if he did change his tune, I feel like I owe it to everybody to play that too, because that's part of the story. So I will go listen to it and find it, and I can play it on. I'll play it on tomorrow's show. I'm doing a live show, Levin. We got a new member of the Gold Standard team, and since you're going to be at work, I'm going to do a live show in our regular time slot. How do you feel about that?
I don't really care about that. I know you can't replace me. I am irreplaceable, but I am shocked that you did not. Like, I don't even know who this person is. And so up until this point, every single person that has joined the network, we have talked about privately before. Not
That's
that
true.
I don't think you don't have to do that, but I'm surprised that you didn't tell me because usually you run things through me to get my opinion.
Yeah, that's
Not
right.
that you always agree with me, but
I'm making big boy decisions. I don't need you. It's my company. No, actually, you do know. You just don't realize you know. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. But I will play those comments because if he did change his tune, I want to hear the rest of that. Is there anything else on either the Trent or the Aiyuk situation you want to get to before we move on to a couple other things from today's press conferences?
yeah, everybody bow your heads. Please, for the love of God, decide one way or the other and make Kyle do it. Thank you. Amen.
We're really like invoking a higher power now?
I am so sick of this. Like, look how little we are talking about the season to come.
Yeah, it starts in 10 days, whatever it is. And we just spent 44 minutes talking about this situation. So yeah, let's hope for a resolution one way or the other. I think it's interesting that the Niners have kind of shifted their talk. Before it was like, hey, we hope to get Brandon back. Now, whenever they say it, it's, well, we hope for a resolution. Like I feel like they aren't even putting out an extension. Like, that's off the table, frankly.
I mean, I do have a house for sale down the street from me. Maybe Brandon Aiyuk's going to buy it.
Yeah.
No, I do not live in a neighborhood that Brandon Aiyuk is going to move to. Not that it's a bad neighborhood, but something tells me that there's not going to be somebody that's making $28+ million a year moving in a couple houses down.
Beyond that situation, a couple other things I wanted to mention. One of them bugs the hell out of me, and that is Kyle was asked if Isaac Guerrero is the kick returner. And Kyle's response was, well, actually, Isaac Guerrero tweaked his groin on Monday. We're hoping to have him back next week. And my first thought, Levin, was, oh my God, Elijah Mitchell is still here. Another running back that looks great on the field that cannot stay healthy. Guerrero got hurt on the first day of training camp practice, but came back like a day or two before the first or the third preseason game, plays in the preseason game, looks great, immediately hurt again.
Yeah, it's not a warm and fuzzy feeling. That is not fun, but I will hold that judgment until the games truly matter. Because this could literally just be Kyle. Yes, he tweaked his groin, but he's totally fine and would be playing if there was an actual game to play. But Kyle doesn't want to let teams know that that's his returner.
Filthy Casual says he said Guerrero's injury wasn't serious.
He said that about Ricky Pearsall too.
He said that about, didn't he say that about, was it Raheem Mostert? And then the next day, Raheem Mostert was out for the season.
Yeah, was on IR. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know about that one. I'm just reading the transcript. He said, we're hoping to have him back next week, but as you guys saw in the game he played, he's got a chance to do that. He didn't say Isaac's injury is not serious. He said, we got to make sure Isaac's healthy for next week. It's not the same thing.
It is not the same thing, but I'm ready for the Jets. Is that here yet? Oh, wait. We have to do a whole nother show before we even get to a game.
Oh man, that makes it seem like a really long time. That when you just said that, I was like, wow, really? CJ Gray says Kyle absolutely lies about injuries. Yes, he does. Do
you remember it was just last year around this time when we had multiple beat reporters for the 49ers saying Kyle has never lied about an injury. Remember when that was something? If I remember correctly, it was something Lombardi started by responding to one of the content creators who was saying Kyle is never forthright when it comes to injuries. And he said he's extremely upfront, more than any other coach, blah, blah, blah.
Look, we know the 49ers beat is not the source to go all the time for objective 49ers analysis. Hell, David Lombardi was literally asked, name one thing the 49ers have done that you disagreed with. And he quote tweeted it and he said, oh, I'm just here to provide objective analysis. Like he literally couldn't even pick out. Yeah. He could have picked out the smallest, dumbest thing, right? He could have picked out like, oh, I wish they would bring back the cool end zone color that they use for the playoffs. I wish they'd bring it back all the time, right? He could have picked out the most mundane, stupid, trivial thing, and he couldn't even do that.
He's like the worm tail of the 49ers beat. If you get that reference.
A Harry Potter reference on the show?
He can't ever go against who he sees as his overlord and master, which in this case is the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. It doesn't matter how bad or what they do, he cannot go against them.
Do you think that if Brandon Aiyuk holds out, I know I said we were going to move on, but I just saw an item from Florio that reminded me that
you can't help yourself.
They could fine him and then they could suspend him for conduct detrimental to the team. Do you think it gets to that point?
I think if that were to happen, the Players Association would be involved. Because there are parameters built into the CBA for what you can do to a player for holding out. And that is the fines that are now mandatory. Because it used to be the team could then waive them once you signed, and that always happened. Now, after a certain point, they can waive the OTA fines. They cannot waive once the season starts. So there's already parameters built into the CBA for what owners can do to players who hold out. You can't then invent a suspension on top of it, in my opinion. I think that would get very strong Players Association fight.
Conduct detrimental to the team. That's kind of a broad like reason, right? I mean, theoretically, anything can be conduct detrimental to the. Maybe there would be a fight. I don't know. The maximum fine, by the way, is $45,769 per day. Let me just tell you, the entirety of the time I worked at ESPN, I did not make $45,769 in a year. In fact, I didn't even make 40. In fact, I didn't even make 35.
And now we know why you are in your basement.
Now we know why my stint at ESPN ended in 2012. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go back to the BA stuff.
2012. Boy, you're old.
Yeah, I know. Kyle didn't say Pooney was the starter at right guard. He didn't want to admit it, although he did say it would be very, very hard to win that spot. It's like, why are you not just say it? Like, what is the secret? He wouldn't say anything about the starter. They wouldn't even tell us who the backup quarterback is, Levin. They couldn't wait to tell us who the backup quarterback was last year. This year, it's a big friggin' secret.
If it's not the Pasternaut, what are you doing, Kyle? Are you that terrible at evaluating things? And did you get really the luckiest gift of all time by having Purdy, who Brian Greasy convinced you to use the last pick in the draft for? Because, I mean, CJ Beathard, you can say Jimmy Garoppolo, although that truly wasn't his pick. Trey Lance. Yes, Kyle decided Trey Lance was it, even though he then very rapidly decided Trey Lance is not it. They do not trade up and draft him third overall if Kyle's not okay with it, if that's not the guy at the top of Kyle's list. So, yeah. Kyle is not a very good talent evaluator. He's a good coach, not a good GM.
Or at least at the quarterback spot, he's not. I mean, I think it's
or running back spot.
Yeah, that's fair to say too. It's not an easy job, and the fact that he has both, essentially. I know he has guys helping him with the GM stuff, but it's really hard to do. They're different jobs. Just like coordinator and head coach are different jobs. It's not the same. Just because you can have both titles doesn't mean.
No, hold on. Kyle thinks coordinator and head coach is the same thing.
I don't know about that. I think he gets it. Grant threw this conspiracy theory out today.
Grant conspiracy theory?
I know. Well, he also said he doesn't like to be negative on the show, which was hysterical. He said, do you think that the Yorks told Kyle, you've been really bad at game management, so you need to have somebody else call plays so that you could focus on the game management? I said, I don't think that they would do that to him. And number two, if they did, it'd be incredibly stupid, because the biggest thing that Kyle Shanahan brings to the team is the fact that he's the best play caller in the league.
I think if they told him that, he would say, that's cute. I want to win a Super Bowl.
Or that's cute. I'm calling plays and there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. You think Kyle's going to allow somebody else to tell him whether or not he can call plays? No way. Now, do I think that like I told you, I think he wants to develop somebody else. And I think maybe he has started to get a reputation, thanks to Mike McDaniel and stuff, that he doesn't give his offensive assistants enough opportunity to grow and shine in front of other people. So I think that's the motivation is, all right, it's preseason. I don't give a crap about preseason games to begin with. Yeah. I will let you call plays.
That's fair. I think there's more meat on that bone. The last thing I think it is Kyle just magnanimously decided that I'm going to let Kubiak call plays. Even if it's only as simple as the Kubiaks helped Kyle out and gave him his first gig back in the day, so he's helping them out. It may just be that. It may be that simple. I'm not saying there's a whole nefarious conspiracy, but it's not just, hey, I thought it would be cool. No. And especially when Kyle said he hates not calling plays, that it's boring, that he didn't know what to do. He's not just doing this out of the goodness of his heart.
I would love to see a head coach, and we've never seen it, and I don't know why, that that has a relationship that says, all right, I'm an offensive coach. We'll use Kyle Shanahan as the example. I call offensive plays. When the offense has the ball, the choice to challenge, do all the other things, that's on the defensive coordinator. When the defense is on the field, I handle those things so that the play caller for each side can concentrate on just calling plays and doesn't have to worry about time management type things and all of that. Like, why there's never been a head coach that has given up that capability to an assistant and said, let me concentrate on everything else. You handle the stuff that literally analytically there's a clear answer of what to do and what not to do, and we'll just follow the analytics.
Well, the 49ers have got, and teams have like analytics guys to tell them in a certain situation, like, hey, what do the numbers say? The Niners.
Yeah, and a lot of the head coaches go, that's cute. I have a gut feeling it's not happening this time.
Yes, exactly. So they have those. Like the Niners have a game management specialist. His name is August Mangin. I'm not sure how to say his last name. I apologize, August. But that's his title, game management specialist. So they have a guy to tell them that stuff. But yeah, it's whether or not you listen to it. You know, what information is that person giving you? Are they giving you accurate information? To me, most of this stuff, like, you don't need to know the math on a lot of this stuff. That's what it burns me up about the whole thing. Like, I don't need to know the math about the coin toss and overtime. All I need to know is the last thing in the world I want is Patrick Mahomes with the ball in his hands with a chance to win the game with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. There's no math required there. That's the situation. That's the nightmare scenario. And you chose that scenario. Like, so it doesn't always have to be about the numbers and the analytics. I just think that in general, from a game management perspective, there's a lot of growth and room for growth for Kyle Shanahan.
Absolutely. But he's also, 7 years in? If he hasn't learned now, it's just who he is.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Give that up to somebody else.
He thinks he's making the right decision. We're back on the typical 49er seesaw for me. In the offseason, I criticize everything that they do because I disagree with most of it. And then we get to the football and they kick the hell out of everybody. And I talk about how good they are. That's generally the roller coaster that I've been on the past few years. And hopefully I'm still on that coaster again because I'm on the crap part of it now. I want to get to the good part of it in 10 days.
Off season, your baby cone. In season, your page 2 spreadsheet.
Except I don't know if they're going to be kicking everybody's ass this year. I think it's much more likely that we are in for a year where we don't see the double-digit leads all the time, and they are having to battle it out and grind it out. I think that's the kind of year that we are in for with this 49ers team.
You know what's insane? This will be our 6th season doing a podcast together. Yeah, I had that thought before we were going on. I was like, dang, in a week we kick off our 6th season? I haven't done anything else in my life for 6 straight years.
You've been married for 6 straight years.
I guess. And I still do that part. But
that is wild.
You know what I mean? Like, I've never had a job in the same place for 6+ years. I've never had, college. It was not 6 years for me to graduate. Neither was high school. Like, yeah, it's kind of jarring. Soon we'll have canes and our voices are going to grow more raspy with every season.
Well, that's just because of the stress. Like, my hair will start falling out even more than it already is. I'll be aging like Kyle Shanahan. I'll get the gray in the hair. It'll be a whole thing.
And we'll start talking about how we miss when the league was more physical, as it's actually flag football 10 years from now.
Back in the day, I missed high floor players like Trent Taylor, as Lombardi tried to say on Twitter today, that Trent Taylor is a high floor player. Oh, God.
He's not a high floor player. He is the floor.
He's nothing. He's nothing. He should not even be associated with the team. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio pods. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notified when we go live. And you got to follow both because some stuff is YouTube exclusive, like our Vernon Davis interview. That did not appear in the podcast. That was a YouTube exclusive interview. And then you had an interview with Alex Smith that you did at the Super Bowl 11. That was a podcast exclusive. It wasn't up on the YouTube channel. So you got to follow both because not everything appears in both places. What do you got going on tomorrow that we had to do the show tonight?
Work. As usual.
Levin in his blast-proof room, keeping us all safe from a terrible gas disaster.
All I know is if the Niners win the Super Bowl this year, it's because it will be the 6th Super Bowl in the 6th year we're doing a podcast. It will be completely all due to us and the Niners that are listening out there. Rob and I would deserve Super Bowl rings. Okay.
Right. I think that's only fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they make the Super Bowl, we'll be there in New Orleans, so you can get our addresses then.
I don't really see any reason why they can't. I mean, they should give us a Super Bowl ring. I think that's totally fair. I was actually really quick.
Hold on. Jed can't afford it because he's spending $200 million on the stadium.
The Yankees have had a lot of people in their radio broadcast booth this year because John Sterling, their longtime play-by-play guy, retired. So they've been throwing different people in and out of there. And the question that came up, because they've been using some radio hosts from WFAN, and the question that came up is like, if you announce a game for the New York Yankees, do you get a World Series ring if they win the World Series? And I think the answer is yes. And the reason I say that is Kay Adams used to work for the St. Louis Cardinals, the baseball team. And when they won the World Series, she got a World Series ring. Now, she worked the whole season. It wasn't just a one-game thing. But I think if you broadcast a game, I think you are entitled to a championship ring.
My guess would be not, and I'll tell you why. I was an intern with the Pacers. When the Pacers made the NBA Finals, they got Eastern Conference champion rings after that season. This is year 2000. I was told by the people, because I was an intern in the broadcast production department, so the people that control the Jumbotron and the replays and all that, that's where I was. They were given the opportunity to buy their own. So they could get an official team championship ring if they paid for it.
They're like $25,000.
Yeah, and those guys were making
right.
Like, I interned there in 2007, and they were probably only making like 35 grand on the high side. Like that is a job of passion, which is why a lot of your sports people who work in sports don't make a lot of money, because the sports teams aren't dumb. They know, hey, you're here because you're an addict. So I will pay you like crap, even though we're literally $1 billion company.
That's crazy. You could buy it. Although, you know what? That's not uncommon. At I think it was NBC. If you won an Emmy, like if you were one of the people like I was behind the scenes, you know, producing a show or editing for a show or whatever, and you won the Emmy, if you wanted the Emmy statue, you had to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just get it. You have to pay for it. And they ain't cheap, let me tell you. Which I got to be honest, if we ever won one, I was going to buy it because I want the freaking Emmy statue. But yeah, you don't just get it. So maybe that is a more
who's we in this? Because if the gold standard wins an Emmy, yeah, we're absolutely getting that. But I assume you're talking about some other we from your past.
Yeah, Pro Football Talk Live.
Gotcha.
Which used to be on NBCSN, which used to be a channel. Now it's streaming on Peacock. But yeah, there's no Emmys for podcasts. There are podcast awards. I would love to win one. I don't even know what they are or how you get nominated. But if somebody out there wants to take that leap for us, best sports podcast, I would appreciate that. I might have a little hardware in the background. That wouldn't be bad.
Maybe the gold standard show. Not that gold digger show.
Fighting words from Levin back here on a Wednesday night. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. There are 700 people watching right now, which is awesome. If this is your first time watching, please give us a follow. I promise you we will earn your time. We're here every single weekday. We have shows on the weekends once the regular season starts as well. We do the instant reaction show after every game. We have a 49ers in 5 update, which is just like a 5-minute news update that comes out every morning with everything you need to know. I promise you, we have the best 49ers coverage anywhere. I'll put it up against anybody on the planet. Levin.
We're the real objective people.
If you don't like criticism of the team, I'll tell you flat out, we're not for you, because we're going to do that. But we tough but fair, I think is my philosophy. And I think everybody on this network follows that, to be honest with you.
And my philosophy is tough, but really good looking.
Goodbye.